Hola, amigos. Welcome back to another episode of the TDD podcast. We have a special guest this episode, the one, the only, Noah Schreiner. Everybody, welcome Noah onto the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Noah is actually, no, why don't you explain some of your wrestling and accolades?
So this year I got first place at Regions. Last year I also got first place at Regions, and I got fourth place this year for state, and my team got second.
For anybody who doesn't know wrestling terminology, that is very, very good. But yeah, Carter, why don't you go ahead and get rolling in our fun fact, which is actually related to the topic.
It is related. It is that wrestling is the world's oldest sport. So the actual terminology is that wrestling is the world's first official sport, which means it's like, I don't know how to exactly explain it, but it's the first organized sport, I guess you could say, like ever made. So like leagues for it. Like the ancient Greece, I guess. Greeks, whatever you want to call them. They were kind of the first, with like the Olympics that they had and all that. So it was the first official sport. And Noah, again, as we said earlier, plays wrestling or does wrestling. I don't know. Is it plays wrestling or does wrestling? I don't know. But he also does cross country and track. He's another teammate of mine. So why don't you give us some of your track and cross country accolades while you're at it?
My team, we took first place last year, and we took first place this year at state. So we have a pretty solid team, and I like to think that I contribute pretty well to the team, but.
Yeah, we're just why don't we just get straight into the interview? We're just gonna ask some questions on all that. What the people want to know. How does the team atmosphere differ between a sport like cross country or track, between wrestling? Because from my view and like an outsider's view, it feels like wrestling's a more like individual sport. So I don't know though.
Yeah, they're definitely different. I'd say, like just how the teams interact. I feel like wrestling is a lot tougher. Like, they both take a lot of toughness, but I don't know if that makes sense. It's more intense, I guess. But yeah, they both take a lot of willpower. And what I like about both running and wrestling is there's a team aspect of both and a individual aspect of both. Like, you score for yourself, but you're also scoring for your team in both sports, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Andrew also used to wrestle.
I have, yes.
So, Andrew, what can you like add to this? Like, do you agree with Noah? Kind of.
Well, no, I 100% agree. I think that he's 100% correct in because cross country, you've got your personal records, and it's your individual run, but it also helps to add points to the total team so your team can win. It's the same concept for wrestling. Now, wrestling is definitely more, in my opinion, like it takes a more physical toll on yourself. But yeah, it's the same thing where it's like, how well you do, the takedowns that you get, it all adds up to your total team points. So, but the thing I like about wrestling is that you really can't blame anybody but yourself, which is huge in not only, sports, but in building maturity as well.
Yeah, I agree. They both, not just like while you're in high school and playing these sports, but you learn a lot of life lessons and stuff that you can take with you later. Like, I don't know, it takes a lot of willpower to do both sports, and it's great stuff you can take with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we obviously know that, you've won a lot of awards. You've done really well in wrestling. So obviously you're very successful. But what is the typical tournament atmosphere like? Like, are you nervous? Are you like anxious? Because I know when I wrestled in my first tournament, I was extremely nervous. I didn't know how well I was going to do, all that stuff, So for you personally, what is it like going into a new tournament, not knowing how well you're going to do? How do you feel?
Yeah, you're always going to be nervous. Or at least for me, I've always gotten nervous before almost everything in most sports I've done. But what I've learned after doing it for more time is that to like do better, you got to turn that into aggressiveness and, focus. And that's how you do better. But yeah, it's hard I still get nervous always,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you get I agree with Noah completely. It doesn't matter the sport. it doesn't really matter whatever it is. If like something's important to you, I feel like you'll get nervous about it, you know? If something, like if you're about to do something important, I feel like you'll get nervous no matter what it is, sports, school.
Well, yeah, and it's like you don't want to mess up for your team.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like you want to succeed and you want to do well. So therefore, it obviously, you know, it's already there more anxious for you in the background. But you know, the rest of it really just depends on, you know, how dedicated and like how much you want to win or do well or succeed in that match or tournament.
The best part about nerves fuel me. I love nerves. Like they get me excited, you know, because it's like, oh, it's, you know, it's about to be go time. I'm about to get to go race, you know. It kind of hypes me up. I don't know, but so no, what are some of your proudest or favorite moments as an athlete overall?
Well, my 8th grade year, I wrestled up for high school, but that year was the first year that the team qualified to go to state duels, which is just the team state, and the first time in school history, and that was really exciting, and I was glad to be a part of that. I just remember how excited we were, and now like we've won it every year since then, and it's not that big of a deal anymore, but I just remember how excited we were when we first did that. And so yeah.
Describe your personal, like, so you obviously did very well in tournaments, but you know, describe like how you felt after winning that. Like that's obviously a huge personal achievement for you. So like how did you feel, especially moving on after that? Like what was your confidence level? Like did you feel like you could succeed easily after that? And like, so what was the after effect after winning all these big awards and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, specifically that year, we felt really good going into the state tournament, and we almost won. Our team got second that year, but you know,
yeah,
nothing you can do about that. But it, like, winning, getting momentum going, we felt like we could beat anyone, and I know, like, I mean, we really felt like we could beat anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So moving on. So we are talking about all of your good memories and your best moments of wrestling and cross country. But what are some of the toughest moments? Like, do you have a specific moment that, you know, just really like destroyed your self-confidence? And we don't mean to make it like super personal, but was there any big moment that was a minor setback for a major comeback?
Yeah, there's certainly plenty of those in sports, and I think in whatever sport you're doing, but in wrestling, one of the hardest things, or at least for me, when I was for the first time cutting weight, is pretty difficult. It takes a lot of mental control to not like eat whatever you want, and like you're so thirsty when you're cutting weight, and so especially when you're cutting more weight, you gotta wear like bags and sweats, and you start running, and it's just so hard mentally to push through. But like when you get through it on the other side, you like look back about how much you accomplished just to make weight, just to be able to wrestle, and that's before you even step foot on the mat, you know. So yeah, that's, I mean, it takes a lot of mental toughness, and there's plenty of people who aren't able to do that. So that's definitely one thing. Like you're in a bad spot mentally while you're cutting weight, but it builds up character.
Bro, I could literally never cut weight, dude. I have such a high metabolism. Like if I don't eat, I mean, if I don't eat, I'm in a awful mood for the rest of the day until I do eat. I couldn't do that for like long periods of time like y'all do. So mad respect there. But so with the global pandemic, you may have heard of it, called coronavirus, may not have.
Just
maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
How was a sport like wrestling affected? Because for a while there, I didn't think I didn't think indoor sports were gonna happen at all, because the virus is obviously more spread in indoors. Like,
well, especially with wwrestling, like your physical like contact.
Like,
so
y'all are like right up on each other, which is one of the reasons I don't like wrestling. But but like how is it different? I mean, obviously like massive stuff. Like what was the big difference between like normal wrestling and code wrestling, like the procedures?
I definitely had doubts that we were going to have a season even, because it was looking pretty bad. I know, or at least here regionally, the cases started to rise, and we all went to online school at one point because there was too many coronavirus cases, and I was worried that we wouldn't have a season. But we managed to push through, and the cases got a little better, and we were able to have a season. But we got a lot of matches canceled, and so we weren't allowed to have any tournaments this year at all. The only tournaments we were allowed to have were the region tournament and the state finals tournament. And then, yeah, so I mean, at least half of our matches we didn't have this year, and we only had dual meets, which are the team matchups.
Mhm.
And yeah.
So did they allow spectators in like the crowd to come in, or was it limited?
It was limited for it. I think it varied depending on the school, but in our county specifically, we were only allowed to have like direct family of the wrestlers come to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So normally you're wrestling in this super packed environment. I know for me personally, my wrestling tournaments, there was, I mean, like every seat was filled up because of all these like different family members and stuff and friends. So did it affect you personally not having all those people there?
I mean, I didn't really notice a difference while I'm wrestling because, like it doesn't have much of an effect with the audience, but not having half the matches this year definitely had an effect. There's a lot of young people who maybe only got 2 or 3 matches this year because they didn't get to wrestle at regions and at state, and they were backups. So normally they would have JV tournaments and they would get 10 to 20 matches this year, and they only got like 3. So
Yeah.
Damn, that sucks, bro. I feel so bad for them.
yeah,
COVID, it definitely threw a wrench in literally everything. We were honestly so lucky to even have like sports at all. Like some states literally had nothing, and it's just so sad. I feel for them.
Yeah. So one of our final questions for you is, now this is kind of
It's
you
the
don't
big
have
one.
a direct answer, but it's definitely a big question. But which sport do you like better, cross country or wrestling?
I mean that's kind of a tough question.
Really
I really
put you on
like
the spot there.
Yeah, they're really different. So
I mean I really like both sports. They both pretty different. They're totally different teams with like different senses of humor even, and everything. The dynamic, everything's different. I mean, I would say I prefer wrestling itself, like, because I'm not a fan of running, like, just for fun. I would say.
I feel that.
But I really like to compete in both sports, and I'd say I probably like competing in both of them about the same. But yeah.
Okay, guys. So sorry, that was kind of a shorter episode today. But thank you again for Noah for coming on the podcast. It was fun. We got some good wrestling information out of you because I mean I literally knew nothing about wrestling. And Andrew knows a little bit because he wrestled for like 1 year in 8th grade, but I don't know. I know nothing. So, so thanks for coming on, man. It was great. Make sure to like and subscribe. You have 5 seconds or have infinite bad luck, all that.
Better now.
So make sure to follow us on Instagram at the TDT podcast. And thank you guys for watching. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.